All right. So while everybody is getting settled, hello to everyone tuning in and hello to our wonderful guests tonight for the Coach's Corner. How is everybody doing?
Good. Good to see you again. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
I did. I hope you all did as well. And also everybody that is tuning in. If you are tuning in, I am going to disappear here in a second, but please pose plenty of questions. I'm sure we'll hear lots of really interesting information about these gentlemen from their consorts. So post away, ask plenty of questions. I'll pass them off and we'll try to get to them. I think that's about it for my part. So I am going to disappear. Your Grace Duke Branos, if you wouldn't mind introducing a few people.
Sure. So first, I'd like to welcome everybody. I hope it's a strange Thanksgiving for everyone this year, but I hope everybody had a chance to at least spend time with the person they wanted to spend it with and enjoy the time you had together. Of course, we all look forward to all being back together and back with families. But for now, we're made the best of what we have, and that's what we'll do through the holiday season. And meanwhile, we're back presenting our episode. So I thought the idea today might be, we're thinking about, what we're thankful for around the season and all this fighting stuff. And Sean came up with a great idea, and that is the people that we're thankful for. And so we asked, our ladies if they would come on and do an episode. I think, there's going to be that space where it's like, well, why do I want to listen to the ladies talk about fighting? Well, this is not what they're talking about. In some ways, it's going to be, a help two ways, because the biggest piece here is that I'm hoping that we learn from this episode all the work that your ladies or your gentleman or your consort does for you that you may not even know. I've been lucky enough to share 30 plus years with my wife, and I can guarantee you there's probably still stuff she does that I don't know, and I'd like to keep it that way. I think this is going to be a great episode because I've been able to do the things I want to do for as long as I've wanted to do with great sacrifice from her. Because there's lots of, we look and it's like, oh, you guys get to go everywhere and train everywhere, and they pay for you to go here and pay for you to go there. Well, somebody's staying home and taking care of all that stuff. While we're out on fighting and training on the field, somebody is back taking care of the household and the camp and all those other things, and sometimes packing up and everything else. So I'm hoping this episode brings to light the things that we should be, because I know I'm extremely thankful for my wife. And I think you're going to get a little bit of that from everyone. So first, I'd like to introduce you. This is Duchess Rebecca. She is part of the Order of Laurel, also Order of the Pelican. She has our Kingdom Augmentation, which is a pretty high award in our kingdom. And it's, I always, and I'm going to steal one story from her. I always love when I'm going over, she kind of does my thing I do on fighting in the Pelican and Laurel side. So I always love going over there and in the Laurel area, and they're like, oh, that's Mr. Rebecca Muller. Or that's the Mr. Rebecca. So, where on my side, there's like, oh, this is your Rebecca's wife, or your Bronis's wife. Well, on their side, I was like, oh, you're Rebecca's husband. So it's kind of fun. I have times where I'm sitting around waiting. Good thing I drink beer, so I can wait easier. But for her to do her thing, but it's not as near as often as that, including all her sessions here on Great Fighters. She's been saying. So that is my wife, and I'm going to pass this on to Sean, and I'm sure he's going to gush as well. And then it's your episode.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us again. As always, I'd like to introduce my wife, Duchess Nisa, who's on a different screen there. She has been queen with me 3 times here in Artemisia, and I have always said that I feel incredibly blessed to be able to have the impact on the fighting community that I do, and I absolutely could not do it without her. She makes time for me to go to fighter practice so that I can continue honing my skills. But more importantly, she keeps the home fires burning while I am, spread about the country, teaching people how to kill people with grass, and takes care of the kids in the ranch while I'm gone. And I just can't state enough how much I simply could not do what I do and have the impact on the society that I've been blessed to have without her support, and without her encouragement. We host practice here every once in a while, and that's a negotiation that has to happen to make sure that we all have the capacity to have 100 people fighting in my backyard. And I can't do that without her. I won't do that without her. I'm very blessed by her support. And this time of year, Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays, and I am most eternally grateful for my wife and all the support that she gives me to allow me to help you guys out and to make you better. So I love you, baby. Have fun on the show.
Thanks, baby.
And
Love you too.
we also have His Grace Eliyahu has his lovely lady, and he's going to introduce her.
Hi there. I'm Duke Eliyahu. This is my brilliant and talented wife, Arianna. Serenity Arianna, Order of the Pelican, Chair Emerita of the Board of Directors. And we've been married for 23 years, 2 months, and 27 days. And we are co-heads of a household that has 21, 22 pelicans in it, and lots. And it's I couldn't do the too many things that I try to do without her support, encouragement, and partnership in this. And she's an extraordinary person. And I have also been introduced on occasion as, oh, you're Arianna's husband. And that tickled both of us, I think, since when we married, I was already a Duke. So with that, I'll hand it over to her. And here you go.
Yeah.
And I'll see you later.
Yeah. Out you go.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, ladies.
Well, hello.
How we all doing?
I think we're doing well.
Excellent.
Right. A little liquid courage for each of us, I think.
Yep.
Agreed. Because I don't know about you guys, but for me, Sean is definitely the one that steps up and is spotlight material. And I'm kind of I'm more comfortable being the wallflower. So when I do stuff like this, when we reign together, it can be challenging sometimes.
Her Excellency and myself, we are very good friends. We've known each other for a long time, and we both have big households that we have to deal with. So we frequently get thrown into the spotlight quite frequently. So not that I like to be that way, because I really don't. I'd rather him have to deal with it, but he doesn't always have the free time, much like Sean doesn't either, to have to deal with everything. So I know one of the things that we all get to take care of for them.
Absolutely. I think unlike the two of you, since I haven't actually reigned, I'm one of those people that they look at me and they say, oh, she does stuff. She's done stuff. So, I kind of just hang about and do stuff.
Yeah.
And so most of what I have done has necessarily been sort of behind the scenes and backstage. And I like to think of myself as sort of not the eminence grise, but maybe the eminence purpur. But I think we all three have a very similar relationship in that with, you know, being a part of a household and our significant other being larger than life and very well known. And so I think we all three have things to share about what it's like to be that other person, you know, the strings that need to get pulled and the little things that we all pick up and take care of. I know, I don't know how many times I've seen Rebecca, I don't know, coaching and mentoring and herding fighters. It's not just cats, right? It, you know, so I think, and I'm sure you do the same thing, Nisa.
Yep, definitely. We have a household that at times has been larger. Right now, we've got a little bit smaller as people move through, but we're all still, Sean likes to call it an umbrella corporation. So even those that have graduated still usually camp nearby. We still obviously talk to each other, look to each other for advice and check in with each other. So yeah, definitely the heading a large household on top of everything else can be good times sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, it's sort of a complicated dance, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Well, as you mentioned about large households camping next to one another, Penzic is definitely one of those huge times where we have to split our duties between obligations that I've made, obligations we have for the household, and obligations that our significant others have as well too. And often, I know I do for myself at least, try to step in and handle the small things that go on in camp all the time instead of having them go directly to him. Not that, so with the household, and most people know Junkyard, we do not lead, just to be very clear, we are not the leaders of the household. We have a council person, that is Sir Baltazar, is actually our council person that both between me and him share a lot of the different things that go on at Penzic. I know a lot of people turn to Branislaw all the time, but it's because Penzic is a different entity in and itself all the time. So we try to board off the small stuff that happens in camp all of the time instead of him having to deal with it. And Bronis just reminded me to say how large our camp is. We have about 130 people in our camp that we have to deal with.
That's crazy. That is why we have the Umbrella Corporation.
Yes.
We generally won't run a camp kitchen.
No, okay, we have different groups in our camp that have different little, as we say, food groups inside of it, because it's just too many people to have to manage something like that in our camp. It's impossible. Too many schedules of too many things that everybody is all doing all of the time. So it's impossible to do that. But we do have like about 3 or 4 different food groups inside of our camp that have a number of people that are in them, which work out really, really, really well. And then there's a few that do them on their own.
That's how we do it too. We used to run a huge kitchen and it's just gotten too much. So definitely letting everybody break out, do their own kitchens. Right now we kind of utilize one of his squires and his wife. They're wonderful and they do a kitchen for us and let us in on their kitchen basically, just so that we don't have to deal with the larger kitchen. It's a lifesaver.
I bet. I mean, our camp is pretty small. So we have far less difficulty in terms of that. And essentially there's no camp. I mean, we have a kitchen, but it's sort of every man for himself, as you would expect in a good Italian household. It is really, it's a small camp, so everybody can do their own thing. There are a couple of folks that have established a food group. So, you know, that it is much easier for us. And I think the sort of delegation of tasks is a heck of a lot easier. We have something like a just a sign up board where people can, you know, do different stuff.
Mhm.
Wow, suddenly my light's better. So that's really helpful. But we, you know, I think in any major event, there's always something that has to happen. You know, something needs to be taken care of. Something is taking one of us away to do something. There's always a thing. Penzic is any large event. You know,
Sure.
Estrella will do that. All of them. They have something will happen, and you know, we'll get pulled into one thing or another. So it's almost relaxing to go to a different large event other than Penzic sometimes, because it's like, oh yeah, oh wow, I'll just step back here. I'll be back here.
Oh, I couldn't
My
agree more.
Prosecco. It'll be great.
I couldn't agree more than that. One of the reasons why I love going down to Gulf Wars is because we just don't have as many responsibilities when we go there. So I feel like I'm actually on a vacation and not having to do so much work all of the time.
One of my best SCA experiences was at Gulf War. Absolutely. Kalantari were lovely, lovely hosts to me one afternoon, and I had a fantastic time. Fantastic folks. So you meet all, you know, that's the really cool thing about the SCA and being able to travel and meet other people. And I think fighting is a good vehicle for that, but so are the arts, so is service. They're all a good way to meet all these very interesting, very unique people that we wouldn't ordinarily in our lives have the opportunity to meet. And that's one of the things that I'm pretty grateful for, you know, thinking of Thanksgiving and everything. I think that is one of those real gems of the SCA. People
Definitely traveling, your chosen family, new friends. I have to say that's one of the hardest things about this whole virus and not being able to travel has been not being able to see that chosen family, not just the ones around in your local area, but we can't even make plans to go see people.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like, you know, when you can make plans, you have something to look forward to. And when you can't even do that, it's that much harder.
I agree.
I agree too.
I am hopeful that, you know, spring, early summer, we can maybe be okay.
I hope so.
I will remain hopeful.
I will too, because we just booked tickets so we purchased tickets a year ago to go to Ireland and in last April. And obviously we couldn't go. Then we were like, okay, so we pushed it out to October. Well, that obviously didn't happen either. So right now we're looking at June. So we're hopeful that maybe that'll work out. If not, we'll reschedule again. But so yeah, it's that taking away something to look forward to that's been the hardest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have a sort of a pent up need to travel. I traveled a great deal for work before this, and I have, you know, since March, I had a trip scheduled to San Diego in March 10th, and that's just when it really started popping, especially around here in Southeast Michigan. And it's like, no, I don't feel good about that. And then, you know, suddenly everything shut down. But I think now we need to, you know, start being mindful and hopeful and know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to get through this.
So just to kind of keep us moving along.
Yes, thank you.
We kind of covered the first three little topics that we thought about. So humor stories. Anybody want to take a stab at that one first?
Okay. Now that I have a cat on my lap.
Right.
We are get cat butt approved.
Yes, exactly. I could talk about how I met Eli. We could all do our how we met. I was at my first event, which was a local wassail for what was the Shire and now is the Barony of Cinnabar, Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I was there with someone else, really charming, wonderful man. And he was off. I was probably off helping to clean up, and I was sitting by myself for a few minutes, and there was dancing going on, and I was watching the dancing. I didn't know any of the dances because it was my first event, and this really nice gentleman came up to me, and he had really cool hair and this cornet and stuff, and said, asked me to dance in a very nice, forsooth sort of way. And I thought, I have no idea. No, sir, I'm sorry. I shouldn't. I really couldn't. I don't know the dance. He said, well, I'll teach you, putting on his best graceful Eliyahu self. I'd be happy to teach you. No, sir. I actually came here with someone else, and it would be unkind and very thoughtless of me to dance with someone else before I danced with him. Thank you very much. And he very nicely went away. So that was Eli, and I have probably one of the rare people who have actually turned down his grace for a dance.
Good for you.
That's a good story. Rebecca?
I did not actually meet Bronis in the SEA. We actually came into the SEA together, and actually, I met him actually through my sisters, is how I met him. He was working at an arcade where my sisters used to frequent a lot, and there was a Christmas party that they had at my mom and dad's house. I was at the time with my boyfriend, which was actually had become my husband at one point as well too. Obviously ex at this point, so that was it. Really, honestly, the first time I met him was at a Christmas party that my sisters were throwing in our basement, and that's how my first time meeting him. It wasn't until I had gotten divorced and I needed a second job to pay off some debts, and I started working at the same arcade that he was. So that's kind of how we ended up dating.
So let's see. Sean and I have a mutual friend, Duke Timmer, and Timmer was one of his best friends, and I had become friends with him, and so I said, all right, I'll go camping with you. I kind of played fringy for a while in the SCA, but he's like, no, come camp with us, it'll be fun. I'm like, okay. So I paid for kitchen, and I set up my tent, and as Sean likes to tell it, he never saw me like most of the rest of the event, and I never ate in the kitchen because, again, super shy and super scared, didn't know any of those people, and I was like, I don't even know what I ate for that event, but I managed to be just fine. So we get home, and later they'd go to movies on Friday nights. There's a big group of us, and so one of those times he was there, and we started talking, and here we are. So sort of through the SCA, half in the SCA, half out. So,
well, talking about the SCA is something I guess I should include with that as well. It was actually Bronis. He had gone to college with someone that had mentioned about the SCA. Didn't do anything about it until a year later. That was about the time we started dating. He was like, hey, there's this martial arts full contact thing, medieval thing. Would you be interested? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's go. We'll see what happens. Gotta try something. You never know if you like it or if you don't like it, kind of a thing. So we went, and I'm like, okay, it's different. He enjoyed the fighting. So in the first probably 6 months, I was like glued to his side all of the time because I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I want to do this. So it was kind of about that time that actually so Tuckwin and Ronis and myself all joined at the same time. And Tuckwin and myself started going and shooting archery at the time, and I kind of found a thing to do, and that's all it wrote after that. So I kind of started doing my own thing. He stayed out on the fighting field, and voila, here we are 30 years later.
Yep. Well, I know, Arianna, you came in kind of where Eliyahu was already a Duke.
Right.
Like me. Sean was already a Duke. And I don't know if you got any of this, but I got some of the, nothing outward and mean, but I got some of the, who are you?
Yeah.
And why are you dating him? Like, not because he's not handsome, but because what do you want?
Yeah. I think there was some of that. And you know, it was so foreign to me, you know. Please get on with your bad self. I just do not have time.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I think that's people make assumptions, and that's always a problem, right? I think people need to sort of step back and kind of rethink and really look at rather than assuming that the significant other of anyone is a thing. Sit back and look at the whole.
They're their own person.
Yeah. You know, we talked a lot about whether he would fight for me in Crown Tournament, and he did a few times, several times. But I also had things I wanted to do, and so I had my focus too. So that was kind of a balance point between the two of us. And you know, I kind of wonder what people, you know, thought of you. Had you found your niche?
Me? I still haven't. My niche is just going, having fun, hanging out with my friends, honestly. When we reign, it's just trying to do my best for the kingdom, and supporting Sean. Since he started teaching, he loves doing it. The joy it brings him brings me joy. So like being able to host those large fighter practices, there's a reason they're only once every couple years though, because it's really hard to have that many people in your home, and all the background stuff that has to happen to make it go. So he always checks with me first anytime he gets asked to fight, or not fight, but teach, any of that kind of stuff, because he knows, like, I stay here, I help take care of the animals. Our kids are still, I mean, my 15-year-old's pretty independent at this point, but my 11-year-old is still pretty dependent. So, you know, there's taking care of her and making sure her needs are met as well. And so it's a commitment when they start doing stuff like this and traveling and teaching.
Absolutely. I think the whole picture, I think a lot of people who just see a Duke writ large, you know, they only see what's happening here on the surface. They don't see what you're doing, what Rebecca's doing, what I'm doing, or what other people behind them are doing to make the thing look real. I mean, and I think there's a point at which we all need to be that consort and play that role too. And people are always kind of surprised when I'm able to do that. It's like, well, yes, when I want to, but I don't need to, really. Or I don't know about you, but after I stepped down from the board, when I just wanted to go to an event and hang about and have fun, enjoy my friends, I got a lot of, well, you're not doing anything. What do you do? Do you do anything? Like, yeah, one or two things.
A few.
But I think it's the same thing. It's not, just because you just want to relax and have fun doesn't mean you're not doing anything.
Right. You need time to yourself as well too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that I don't know how, we don't have any active squires right now. But I think that the contribution that we make at a certain level to other members of the household and other squires, I think is also a thing. Just the conversations, wow, I don't think that's a good idea.
I'm going to circle back to one thing that Nisa had said about your once a month big bite practice thing that you put on at your place. People don't realize how much work it is for us. So Nisa, I know you're not familiar with what we do here, but we have armorings here every other Thursday when things are good. And then we also have Sunday fight practices that we host here at the house Tuesday fight practices. Sundays are at the park. But they get hosted here. And a lot of people don't realize how much time it takes for me as well too, to have to be the one having to take care of all of the other questions that people have, or taking care of the house, making sure that there's toilet paper in the bathroom, cleaning the bathroom for all of the people that are coming here, and just a whole lot of other occupying some of the ladies when they come as well too. It's a lot of work that we all have to pitch in to let these things happen for them all of the time. And I will say, even for our Sunday practice, even though it's at the park, we don't have children, so we don't have to worry about that. But I still go to them as well to show support for him there, but also for the ladies that end up coming and helping. It's our social hours sometimes it's for us to work on a project, but I do it as well and go with him on every Sunday. So it eats up a lot of my time that I could be spending doing other things. But I also enjoy it as well too, because it is fun, and I do get a chance to visit with some of my friends during that time. But there are times that I have people coming to me during those times asking me how to sew things, or ask for advice, and such things as well too, about different topics.
Yeah, well, I don't want anybody to get the impression that we don't enjoy what we do, even the working parts, even the supporting parts. Like, we do it because we love doing it. We love the consorts that we do it for. There is joy in it. It's just, it is a lot of work as well. So
yeah, and I think I guess I don't know why this also made me think of conversations that I've had with other new Knights ladies, and that there is a whole series of things to navigate if you are the spouse or knight, or man or woman. If you are the spouse of a knight, there's going to be some sort of complications. People are going to, I don't know, I know this has happened to all three of us because we've talked about it, stand right in front of us to talk to him or her, or the new spouse will suddenly realize, oh, I don't have anything to do because XY is in a chivalry meeting. All sorts of things like that.
Well, and I know we talked before about, okay. We've talked before, when we talked the other day, we talked about that kind of situation. And for me, definitely in the beginning, it was hard because when I'm at home, Sean Oppenheimer, he's my husband and I'm the center of his world and he spoils me rotten. Let's just be clear. And then we get to an event and Duke Sean has all these other things he needed to do, all these other places he needed to be, these people that needed to be introduced to each other, that he can facilitate and help out that way. And it took me a bit of an adjustment to understand that it wasn't personal, that he didn't like stop loving me. And it's not that I'm not the center of his world. It's just his focus shifts. And I had to learn to be okay with that. And there were a few stumbles along the way. But I think at this point, I finally got into a good place, but it's something to adjust to. And I imagine it's kind of the same thing when someone just becomes a peer of any kind, and the other person in their life, suddenly they've got these meetings to go to. And they start picking up these students, whether they're official or not. They get asked questions to teach and things like that. And their attention gets pulled away from me, so it's an adjustment, definitely.
Yeah. And I think that there's some level of, I don't know, expectation. It's not really a requirement, expectation out of any peer's significant other, that they somehow also comport themselves with a certain level of expectation, and that can be a rough thing because it is an unlooked for adjustment, but it's real.
It is important in how we portray ourselves as well too, like you were saying, so that we don't make them look bad either. So there is a different responsibility that does fall back on us. With Bronis and I, because we joined together, we kind of grew together at the same time. So my differences are a little different than you guys, just for the simple fact that, as we were reigning, I started, it was shortly after that I became a Laurel. So I was very active in the ANS arena, but when it came to tournaments, and I will say that Bronis doesn't really actually fight in a lot of the tournaments. He really likes training, and it really is his passion. He'd rather be outside or on a separate list field training people, because it really is more of his passion. But however, when he is out on the field in the tournament, I do try to be there, and I want to show him that I'm supporting him as well during the tournament that's going on, and being an inspiration at the event for him, opposed to going and doing my responsibilities as being either a Pelican or a Laurel for other things that I get called upon when I'm at events all of the time.
So ladies, we had a question come in. I've got my stuff up so I could see it. And it says, what should a single fighter consider when entering Crown and choosing a consort?
Boy, how about someone you can work with?
Yeah, someone that you can work with, and someone that you've really sat down and talked to about what you would expect when you're sitting on the throne.
Right.
I will say that the folks that followed us after our first reign, he thought that they had an idea of what they were going to do. She had a totally different idea of what was going to happen. So I seen it firsthand going bad very quickly, just because they both had their own agenda that ended up happening, and he wasn't happy with it. So you really need to sit and talk with that significant other person at long desks about what you expect out of a reign and who's going to take care of what responsibility. Because as all of us know, and although I know Arianna, you've not actually reigned, you do know what goes on to it, because you have been Chamberlain and done a lot of other things for the reins as well too. But there's a lot of behind the scene work that has to go on. It's not just one person's responsibility of what has to happen to make an event happen. There's a lot of work that goes in weeks before ever making it to those events.
Yeah. I mean, even how you both feel about awards,
Yes.
you know, what is your experience?
I would say the one thing I wanted to say was that, like you guys were saying, well, it's more than one thing, but like you were saying, communication is huge. Whoever you choose to be a consort, whether they're a romantic relationship or a friendship, you've got to be able to talk to each other. If there is any rockiness in that relationship of any kind, I would recommend against it, because this type of thing can make or break a relationship.
And
I've
it won't
seen
solve the problem.
happen multiple times. It's stressful. It's a lot of work.
Yep.
I really hope that at least one of you has really good organizational skills, and one of you has really good not just organization, but doing the secretarial, the work, the paperwork, all of that kind of stuff. It helps if at least one of you, I've seen a lot of couples where one is a little quieter than the other. So like for me and Sean, what works for us is when we're in a speaking situation, I learned quick, I don't let him speak first, because if I let him speak first, I don't have anything left to say. Because he does it so well.
Yep.
So for us, what worked was I speak first, and then he's really good at filling in the blanks and the things that we talked about previously that I just, when I got up there and got nervous, I forgot. But yeah, communication and solid relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Yeah, and I think your organizational skills thing is important, because either that or know that you need to appoint somebody.
Yes.
have somebody who's going to shepherd you.
Yeah.
Because that's a thing. No, have a good idea about your staff, and have talked with that. Talked through that with that other person. Make sure that they're comfortable with who you think your Chamberlain should be.
Yeah.
Or that you're comfortable with the way you want to dress or not.
Yep. Yeah.
That
you don't have to match, but you do have to be okay with what the other person's wearing.
Exactly. If one of you wanted everything to be all matchy and the other one doesn't, well, that's going to cause some stress.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to drive your Chamberlain crazy.
Yes, it would. One last thing I do want to add on this particular comment, because we did get another question here. I also want to say, as much as the stuff that we're talking about that sounds like it's going to be really hard and difficult, there's great rewards. Great rewards at the end. I tell you, both of our reigns, we had wonderful times, came out with so many memories, and made so many new friends that it was amazing. It is a lot of work, and I don't want to belittle that, because the work is there, and it is important. But it's got its great rewards at the same time, as long as you both are going into it with the same ideal of what you're expecting.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree. Having watched it so many times, the real the energy that I see, both coming to the crown and going from the crown to the populace, is amazing and wonderful. And that's one of the things that I do have missed. It's one of those things that, wow, that would be fun. That would be really super cool to be able to do that, to be a part of that, because it looks so joyous. And when the crown is joyous and happy, I think it really transports to the realm itself.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Super important.
Agreed.
And have fun.
So the other question that we have here is, what thing has happened while with your spouse that bugs you most at an SCA event? I'll kind of jump on that one in, and Arianna kind of mentioned on it already. While Brannis and I are talking, and it is oftentimes when we're out on the list field, because I'm coming out there to check on him, or maybe there's a tournament that's going on and I'm out there watching with him. But however, we're in the middle of a conversation and I have had people literally step in front of me to get his attention. And this is for all you fighters as well too, to pay attention to. It is a very important thing. Do not do that. Pay attention to your surroundings and whom they're talking to. I know you want their attention and they realize you do too. However, when you step in between their significant other, it is not a good thing. And trust me, they're going to remember as well as we remember. So I've had people step over me and step on my hand. I've had people trip over me to get in front of him. I've got multiple stories over the years that have happened that people wanted his attention and did not realize who's around and that something else was going on. So just always remember your surroundings when you're trying to get that trainer person's attention.
Right.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think I touched on mine as far as it was early on in the not being the center of attention. It was just an adjustment period. And so that, yeah, I kind of already touched on it. Arianna, did you have something?
Wow. I think that I've had experiences similar to Rebecca's, and I think it also manifests in people assuming that we have no experience, no useful value because we're not fighting. And that sounds awful, but the way someone approaches the conversation
Mm-hmm.
and the way they interact, it's like, this wouldn't interest you. Well, actually, it might interest. I know this about Rebecca. She and I really love to watch fighting.
Yep.
And I think you probably do too. I really enjoy it. She and I will sit there at crown tournaments. Ooh, what's going to happen?
Oh, crown tourney is very important for me. I am usually out in the corner watching, and people will come to me. I don't go to people because crown tourney is important, and I wanna pay attention to who's fighting and how they're fighting, and the outcome ultimately has a lot of effect of how the next 6 months is gonna happen for everybody. And as someone who sat the throne before, we already have a lot invested, so it's really exciting for us to see the next people stepping up. So yes, I agree with Arianna.
Yeah,
Questions?
I love watching Sean fight. So yeah. I was gonna say, just for those of you, I don't know that I'm gonna go into too much detail just because we've got a couple other questions, but I do have the experience where Sean was reigning with Karin, whom he wanted to get her duchy. We had just gotten together. Well, not just, I mean, we were planning, nobody knew, but we were planning on trying for a baby. And so I ended up reigning with him while I was pregnant, or not reigning. I ended up kind of just being his concubine, for lack of a better word, while he was reigning. And that was a different experience as well. So I just wanted to put it out there. If anybody has any questions about that, even if it's not here, I'd be more than willing to talk to you about it. Your significant other reigning with someone else.
That's a good one. That's a good,
It
I think that's it's one of those things that really needs to be discussed and understood by all the folks involved. Kudos to you. Way to go. Way to be strong.
It worked out well for us.
Good. Yeah, well, it seems to have. I'm looking at the next question.
Yep.
Go ahead and read it.
Okay. Any advice in general, not just for crown and reigning, for couples where both partners are fighters that are just trying to do all the things? We are both playing the role of a fighter and a consort at the same time while striving to be high-level fighters and teachers, etc. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I don't have an experience being a fighter as well, but I've talked to a lot of our friends that are, And the biggest thing I hear is they've learned to take care of themselves as fighters, because being a consort and a fighter is exhausting and often just a disaster. So pick what you're going to do. If you're both going to fight, be fighters, maybe agree on, you can still fight for each other, but maybe agree on someone outside of you two that's going to help take care of you guys separately. That would be one thing that I would probably suggest. And just, as I always suggest, communication's huge. So just make sure you keep continuing to talk to each other.
Yeah.
I would agree that, know what you agree with what you're getting into the day that you're going to the event. And maybe it's the tourney, as whatever the tourney it is that you're fighting in, maybe it is important to play a little bit of the role of the consort, depending on which tourney it is that you're fighting at, because that makes a difference. Like fighting in Crown Tourney, for instance, it is important to still try to play that consort role, because ultimately you're both going to be sitting on the throne if you should happen to win together. So you need to learn how to support one another. If it's at a regular event, I like your suggestion. Talk about it, and maybe you do find somebody else that can help take care of yourself, take care of both of you, or you just manage it yourself. There's nothing wrong with doing that either.
Yeah, I think, boy, that understand, I guess it does all come back to communication and understanding, who's doing what, and then understand, being self-aware enough to know when you need to know what your significant other is doing. Because do you want to go it alone, or are you going to be upset? You got to ask yourself this. Are you going to be upset if you have a bad fight and no one is there to talk to you? If that's a thing that normally happens. Or if you have a really great fight and that other person has a really bad fight or bad day, talk about that. Know what that dynamic is going to feel like, because that could cause some friction. So just be aware of where those friction points could be.
Yeah.
I'll say, obviously, Promise and I aren't in the situation, but I know I will add a little different perspective for a consort that's not a fighter. Honestly, when we go to an event and Bronis is fighting, he's fighting. He doesn't need me to be bugging him all day long. I'll go and check in with him. I'll make sure that he has something to drink. Oftentimes, he won't take it from me. So oftentimes I will give it to his squire and tell them, here, go feed him, or go give him this water. Or I make sure that his squires know where everything is at. So if he needs something, they can just go and help themselves and get it for him. Because, we're their significant other, it's easy for them to tell us, no, leave me alone, or whatever. Where they're sending somebody else in to give it to them, they won't say no to them because they're going to be polite. Even if it is their squire, they're going to be polite, and they're just going to automatically take it from them. So it's not a matter of, at the event having to be right by their side all of the time. They're fighting. Their attention is into fighting. They don't want to be bothered by us asking them questions all of the time, all day long.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that sort of leads us to the whole notion of inspiration to an extent. And the fact that, it's inspiration is a really difficult thing. I mean, I have some conflicts with this. I'm conflicted. But I know that day of, because the three of us have talked about this, the day of, they are on the fight. In that moment, they are about the fight. They are laser focused on that fight. it's kind of nice that we're in the room, but they are laser focused on that fight and what they have to do.
Yep.
For sure.
You know?
Yep, definitely. Well, and every I've seen a lot of I've been watching a lot of interviews lately, and I hear the fighters talk about what their inspiration means to them, and some of them are like, "Oh, it's all about them being by my side that day," and some of them are like, you know, it's Sean will say when you ask him, he's like, "Well, she inspires me all the other moments that there are, but when he's fighting, he's fighting. He has fighter head. I'm only kind of in his vision. I need to be there, like at crown tourneys or big tournaments. I need to be there so he can salute me, because in that moment I'm in his view.
Yep.
And that's what I'm there for. And then after that, he's just fighter head, which is fine. He and I have talked about it, and we know where he stands, and we know what he needs and doesn't need. So.
And I guess that goes back to having that conversation with the person who you're going to fight for or be fought for, both sides of that coin. Know what the expectation is. So you're not waiting for something that doesn't happen, so that you know that, okay, I really appreciate it if you stand here, you know, during this time, because there are some couples where they really don't, they you know, it's okay in terms of the history of that kingdom, you know, to have the consort standing there, but that's really not a thing for them. You know, in fact, it takes their focus away. So
some fighters can't, they don't like their consorts to be there. It distracts them too much. So yeah, it's just a matter of talking to each other.
And maybe that's not always about inspiration. Maybe that's just about what they need to do to be in that fight. And, you know.
So while we're on the topic about fighting, so I know all three of us have had to watch our significant others do a lot of these coaches corners through this whole COVID, along with a bunch of other training videos and people asking for help from our significant others, along with us, you know, going to some of the training with them. Although I have never picked up a piece of rattan, and I never plan on picking up a piece of rattan, I have listened to his training for years. So although I have never picked one up, I feel awkward sometimes stepping in when a training is going on. However, he can't always see everybody when he's training everybody, and I will often go around to him and say, hey, the dude on this end, he needs a little more attention because this dude's not doing it the right way. So you need to focus over here. And he usually says, okay, thank you. Or I'll see a couple of them go off to the other side and try to practice, and I'll go over and say, no, you're doing it wrong. I said, I know I'm not a fighter, but I can tell you from watching this for years and listening to him, I know that you're not doing it right. If you don't want me to show you, that's fine, but you can go and ask him and show him, and he'll help you do it correctly and practice it the right way. I know Nisa has had similar experiences.
Yep. I can just pretty much say ditto on that whole comment. That and hearing him explain something and watching a fighter just not getting it, and then being able to reword it, even if it's in words that Sean's used before, but he's just not using in that moment. Or sometimes I can come up with my own variation of it, but and sometimes that's just what they need. And again, it's because we've heard it over and over, and we watch it. You pick up stuff whether you want to or not.
Absolutely.
So,
I know a lot of people over here joke all of the time and say, you could probably train just as well as he does because you watched it a million times. I'm like, yep, I certainly have. They said, but I will say, I said, over the years, he's changed it up from time to time. So I'm not always up on his new thing that he's doing right away. Usually it'll take me a little bit to watch it again to see the new thing he's added. Like, right now, it's all about footwork that's going on right now, and although I've been seeing a bunch of it, but I know that's his his new thing that he's been focusing on is footwork and hand movement that they're doing. And I will say through this whole COVID thing, for me anyways, it's been pretty much 24/7 fighting talk going on between, you know, him and his choir, or watching videos, or his coaches corners, or other things that he's watching. It's been pretty much fighting all of the time.
Yep, again with the ditto.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think also maybe we could touch on just for fighters who wants to be on the path to be members of the chivalry, how important it is maybe to be well-rounded, and that fighting is the thing, like service is the thing, like whatever art is the thing, but there's that whole other peer-like bit that has to go into it.
I'll add on to what Arianna is trying to say right now. And Sobranis is all about fighting. That's all you're going to get from him. That's all his squires get from him is fighting. The rest of the stuff, that's up to me. I'm the one that usually says, okay, you need to learn an art thing. Let's go to Penzic, and let's go to the ANS tent or the barn, and let's go and see what's going on over there. Or I'll have conversations with them about service things. Or yeah, most of his squires get those bits of knowledge or wisdom, or to be a better rounded peer. That's up to me. That he does not focus on that part. He doesn't really care about that part. And I shouldn't say that he doesn't care about that part, but fighting is fighting for him. That department's up to me, and it's where we share a bit of the role as being a peer and helping them out to go on their path of being knighted. So
yeah, I'm really lucky. I mean, not that you're not. It's just a different kind of lucky. Sean is really good. His knight, when he was young and just getting into everything, his knight really pushed for being a well-rounded. Knights do so, and knights do an art and or science, knights serve, things like that. So he's been really good. I just jump in when just the little things that come up along the way, or if he happens to not be around. So yeah, he's pretty good about doing all that stuff as well. I just sit there and look pretty. That's my entire job.
I will say all of his squires, we have I'll say both of ours, because we both are peers. We consider them family, and they all have to work together. We do things outside of the SCA as well too, and do family things together as a group. And it's very important to us that everybody all gets to get along with one another. They might not always agree with everything, but that's okay. I don't ever expect them to, because I know that we're the common denominator between them all. But they have to have respect for one another.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's the most important thing. I never would tell his squires what to do. That's his responsibility. I just want to help to get them along their path and keep them moving along. Hence the reason why I tend to try to step in and help out in the other areas where he isn't necessarily always focused on.
Yeah. We did get another question come in. As says, do you have traditions, touchstones, rituals that you do at events to reconnect and keep your relationship strong? I really love this question.
Mm-hmm.
Sean and I, we have a few, specifically for Crown and or when we're stepping up. we usually take a few minutes, just the two of us, to just be in the moment and be with each other, tell each other we love each other. And I guess we do it during regular events too. We often will, I love you as we're passing each other. We're very tactile, so we're usually reaching out to each other just to make sure, just to remind each other that everything's okay, no matter how busy we are.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. I like that. Gosh, I'm trying to think of rituals and touchstones. He's so much better at rituals and things like that. I mean, well, I guess the ritual that he and I are known for,
Yes.
Prosecco. We're really, 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 did I mention really well known for opening bottles.
I saw him a few minutes ago come in and refill your glass.
Yeah, I am very lucky in that. I usually don't have a glass empty. We really do. Also, we have it's very sad. We had a Prosecco protege, and she's now a Pelican. So she's a fantastic Pelican. The accolade was well deserved, but boy, that was a lovely thing, having someone just come up and
She was really
it got to be a bit of shtick, because
she was really good.
The couple come in who are known for their Prosecco, and then their Prosecco protege comes in and there's Prosecco. It's Prosecco. It's what we do. For good or bad, we're Italians.
So I'll say with Vanessa and I, mostly it's towards the end of the day, and it's usually feast for us. Just because either he's been busy all day or I've been busy all day. Sometimes it's just me sitting around chatting with my friends as well too. But usually about feast time, that's usually when we get together. But I'll say during the day, we'll check in with one another. But if we should happen to catch each other across the field sometimes, Ronus will often wink at me just to say, hey, I see you over there. But that's probably one of the small things that the both of us do throughout the day. But mostly it's just checking in with each other at dinner. One feast happens, either that we're going home or the fact that we're staying for feast. That's when we really reconnect and try to spend a little bit of time together, because we haven't seen each other all day long.
Yeah. Usually at feast, or if we happen to go out for dinner afterwards, even if we're with a group of people, we usually spend a little time together. So that's always pleasant. Walking through the merchants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yeah. We have another question that made me almost laugh out loud. Have you experienced the negative side of your or your significant other's star quality? Example, unwanted attention, jealousy, feeling neglected, and how do you overcome it? So I'll start.
Okay.
Because I'm the one that was going to laugh out loud. When Eli and I first started dating, as you know, Duchess. We were at an event in Chicago. Lot happening at this event. Big Kingdom 12th night, I think, as I recall. Lots of stuff happening. And I came downstairs with Eli, and there's a big sweeping staircase at this old University of Chicago building. And I could actually hear someone from a distance go, "Who is that woman with Eliyahu?" And I am not making up the tone. and even then, my reaction was, okay, here we go. What do? You can only do your best self. So I just sort of laughed and went on with my day, because I was the lady with Eliyahu.
Yep.
So,
Rebecca, how about you?
I can't say that it's really unwanted. I have a hard time with this one. It's more it's a little more complicated for me, just for the fact that people, Ronus feels that he needs to, if someone's going to approach him, he feels that he owes them the time or the moment or whatever it is to give them the attention that he needs. So I can't really say that it's really with him sometimes, because it's like, come on already, it's late, let's go, I'm tired, I want to eat, let's go. I'm like, I'm done with the day, come on now. So sometimes it's just more of, I understand that you want to give them the attention and I'm not disagreeing with that, but there also has to come that point in time where you have to say, okay, I need to take her, she needs to eat, we need to go, we need to be done. I'm usually the one that usually is the one that's the bad guy all of the time, because I'll go over to them and say, hi, I'm sorry, I'm making him leave. I apologize, I'm hungry, it's time to go. He's gotta go, and he's still talking. And I take his hand and I start dragging him away. And I am very apologetic to the people at the time. And I do feel really bad, but he has a hard time letting it go sometimes. And I get it, I do, but I want to eat.
Oh, Sean knows exactly that same exact thing. There has been many times that I've been like, baby, I am hungry. And then I'm hungry. And then it's like, we are leaving now. I am getting in the car. And if you don't, I am going to dinner and I'm leaving your ass here because I'm done.
Yeah, I've gotten the same thing too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have the keys.
Yep.
I
Over the years, it's gotten better, but they get caught up in that wanting to give back,
absolutely.
which there's nothing wrong with. It's
No,
just
absolutely not.
No.
Yeah.
Your Grace, the cat is on fire, has become code. Now, of course, everybody knows the code, right? So we have to.
Yep. Usually it's I'm hangry and you're about to pay for it. So
This never ends well.
He usually knows when I start dragging him by the hand, and I say good night, Gracie, because he knows this is it, it's time, I've reached my limit. I have set, we do have a little pattern, I should say, that usually I'll send one of the squires or a household member out there and tell him that he needs to wrap it up. And by that time, if he hasn't, I'll go out there and say, okay, you've got about 15 more minutes. And if I come out a third time, he knows it's done.
Yep.
It's time to go. It's over. There's no more doing anything. So.
Yep. Yeah, we have this very similar pattern, actually.
It sounds like this might be a thing. Kind of.
Definitely.
And I mean, I think it's wonderful that people are seeking advice and that they are so into their craft that they want to give back. And that's a great thing. But, balance in all things. And
I will warn most people that come up to Sean, if you're going to come up to him and I haven't eaten because we're getting close to dinner break or it's the end of the day, I'm just going to warn you now, you're probably going to get cut off because I'm going to be like, I am done. I'm sorry, I'm acting like a complete and total turd, but it's time to go now. It's nothing personal. It's all about me.
Oh, we have a good question. Sorry. Give us the dirt. Give us the dirt, pun intended. Do you ever have to read your significant other the riot act regarding armor, hygiene, and smell? Any tips for fighters? Sorry. That you employ in keeping that under control.
Just wash your underclothes, people. I mean, I know not all the armor can be washed, but washing your underclothes goes a long way.
vinegar helps as well too. If they are people who don't wash their stuff very often, I will say Bronis is one of those people. Not all of his stuff gets washed regularly, not as much as I would like to wash it anyways. Yeah, adding a half a cup of vinegar to the wash kind of helps to get rid of some of that smell sometimes, depending on what that piece of armor happens to be, like his gambeson, just because he wears it so much, it gets stinky. So it gets washed a lot, but it helps.
Along that same line, if you have someone in the house that has work clothes or non-fighting clothes of any kind, please do not wash your fighting clothes with other clothes.
Yes, agreed.
Just don't do it. It will cause a fight. Just skip that fight. Don't do it.
It's a good thing Bronis doesn't do laundry here, so it's just me. For exactly that reason.
Yeah, we expect there's a degree of smell we expect, but there are times that it's
yeah. Usually it's his gloves and his leather bits that get the stinkiest, and he has to replace them. And usually when they're starting to get to that point, it's like, oh honey, you need to like step away and you need to make new ones because they stink.
Yeah, I did recall the first time we camped together at Penzic. This is the first event, a major big event or a camping, long camping event that we went to together. The armor was in, it was not in the tent. It's not. It wasn't a discussion. There wasn't going to be a conversation. Like, no. Armor outside. Or everybody, me outside.
Yep, but I've seen people give armor their own tent. The armor has its own little pup tent.
Yep.
Oh yes.
Yep. Not it.
Yeah. Save your relationship. Don't sleep with your armor.
Right. These things are simple. They break down easily.
So ladies, we've got about 10 minutes left. We usually take a little bit of time to wrap stuff up. Is there any, I'd like to just say thank you so much. I've been reading stuff online and the questions were great. I wish we got as many questions as you guys got, but we don't. So, but everybody seemed to really enjoy it. It definitely hit a chord with a bunch of people. Somebody else actually said they were gonna put a class together around kind of around what you guys were covering.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I think it really went well. I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and kind of wrap it up. And why don't you go ahead and anything last words you want to say, and then we'll take it back over and then wrap up the session.
Okay, sounds
I want to say it was a lot of fun sitting here chatting with you ladies, and it was a pleasure, Nisa, to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah,
I know I've had the pleasure of meeting Sean on a few occasions, but I hope to be able to see you in person sometime soon.
Well, you'll have probably 104 people at your next fight practice. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that would be 154 actually.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's
I
waiting.
know, and I apologize for anyone that comes up to me and they're like, but I've been at your house. Well, there was a lot of people at my house. I don't do people, so yeah.
Well, I do look forward to when that time comes to actually be able to see you in person and get to chat some more and share some other stories with you.
Definitely. I know now that the kids are growing more, I'm able to travel with him some more, which has been nice. So
good. I think there's a bottle of Prosecco with our names on it.
sounds good.
Maybe more than one.
And Arianna, of course, I look forward to spending some time together again when we get the chance. There was one topic that we didn't talk about in sharing some fun stories when our significant others are off teaching sometimes. And for us here, we have a lot of nights here. So one of the fun things that I often do here at the house is I have a fondue party here at the house, and invite all of the ladies over, and we usually have a great time and go through a lot of bottles of wine and champagne and prosecco, and it's one of the fun things that we get to share together as ladies, since so many of us are friends and enjoy each other's company as well too, that we often get to do here as well too. And I look forward to us being able to do that again soon.
Me too. Me too.
I've really enjoyed this. Also, ladies, getting to know you guys has been a lot of fun, and it sounds like we have many more stories that we could share with each other.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
for sure.
Now I'll give it a list of stories that you guys can cover.
And again, you know how well that works.
Not
You
yet.
get a little more leadway when it's being recorded on the internet, but when we're together, not as much.
I'll tell everybody about all the times I stole your gin, Branos.
Yeah. Let's not bring those bad memories up. All right, ladies. Thank you very, very much. And I have a feeling at some point we may ask you guys to do some other stuff too. So, this really did make a great episode. Sean, thank you for the idea. It was awesome.
It was really great having all of you guys on. I was watching the whole thing, laughing my ass off, and nodding my head. I'm like, yep, true story. Can confirm. But it's been really great, and really appreciate the input and the perspective that all of you have had. There's like I said, we are incredibly blessed to have the impact that we do on the society, and we just couldn't do it without you. And we really appreciate it, and we wanted people to hear your story. So thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. So after that great episode, you guys get to go back and listen to all the slow other stuff that me and Sean and the rest of the coaches like Eli and Tristan and everyone else will talk about. So we're going to talk about next week's episode. The title of next week's is Evaluation Tools for Coaching and Self-Analysis. Eli, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So as I teach in my modern life, and there's several tools for understanding your students and understanding how to organize and present your material. There's Bloom's taxonomy, and there's a bunch of other models, and we're going to talk about those not as a definitive way to do things, but as ideas, ways to think about how to organize your teaching, how to understand your students better. When you've got a student you're having a hard time reaching, and Rebecca's not there to, or Nisa's not there, or Arianna's not there to really explain it to them, how do you try another way? What's another method? What's their learning styles, or another thing? So we're going to talk about some of those tools coming from the academic world, the teaching world, and how to apply those to teaching SCA fighting.
Awesome. That sounds like a great episode. I think a good part is right after that we have another kind of education episode of working with neurodivergent or non-standard learning models, and Sean's going to have a couple of special guests on for that one to kind of roll through that. But I think another great thing Sean was bringing up, that Monday's night's video review went really well. Sean, you want to talk about what's coming up?
Yeah, so this past Monday, we did a special episode on the Coach's Corner with Duchess Helga, who is one of the best fighting analysts I've ever known, honestly. And we had her on, and we had Duke Thorfinn, the Gruel from the West Kingdom, who's one of our new coaches. You'll be seeing him more frequently coming on. And we took some video of one of my squires and one of her squires, and kind of demonstrated the methods that we use to do video analysis. And we had a good time, so much so that we're looking at doing that as a somewhat more frequent segment. We're looking at maybe a monthly segment where we'll take some video from some of the fighters out there and have you on and kind of pick it apart. So look on the Coach's Corner for more on that. And if you're interested in having us do some critical analysis on your fighting, you can have some of the best analysts in the world picking apart your fighting and telling you what you need to do better. And that kind of goes along with what Eli was talking about with the episode next week. The evaluation portion of what we do, it's kind of the first step. We need to know where you are as a fighter before we can set you on a path and give you, make sure that we're sending you down the right path. And all the evaluation tools that we have available, video and the Bloom's taxonomy and so many other things. So there's a number of things that are coming down the line that are all related, that are going to help you become better trainers, better analysts, and continue the evolution of our sport.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to those actually a lot. So on a side note, remember to take a look at our links on the site. They're pinned to the top under the announcements. If you read more on those, we have a number of links. And one is we posted out a quick kind of get to all the episodes in a Google Doc. So you pull that up, you can read what the episode's about, and then you can just click the link to go. We have a book list coming out pretty soon of a lot of the books that some folks have recommended. And there's also the drills work stuff, that spreadsheet that we did from 2 weeks ago, drills indoors. We're actually going to be expanding that out to include all the drills that I already had. My Squire side had already been working on drills, all of our drills. That's where that last one came from. But I'm also already talking to a number of other people, and we'll be kind of putting a database of drills together, hopefully with video from tons of great teachers from around the society, so that when you're putting a class together, you can kind of go, even if it's just you by yourself right now, you can go pick and choose, figure out what's going to take you an hour, hour and a half. And, it's something that you can put together once or and then do it once or twice a week. And then you'll be able to move on. And of course, you can always reach out to any of us, and we'd love to help you and love to see some video that we can help you with. So I'd like to thank everybody that watched. Especially like to thank our wives who were nice enough to put this on for us. And we can't leave without thanking probably one of the biggest helps to us, and that would be Vesper. She's kind of the glue that holds us all together, and it's been amazing. I think if she's embarrassed every time we all look, but we had probably thousands of years of SCA experience and hundreds of peers that she has helped bring the society here in a time when it was the hardest time for the society to keep living. And I know she doesn't want to take any credit for that, but we're going to keep giving it to her over and over. And I think it's just the beginning, because it's going to be hard to ever forget what she's done, especially through this period of time. And I look forward to working with her for years.
Vesper, I have to agree with him as well too. I can't tell you how many people I hear them talking about you and what you've been doing, and keeping not just the fighting community, but people interested in doing things still. So you've done a great job, and I can't wait to actually get to meet you in person as well too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to meet everybody in person. That's why this needs to hurry up and pass, the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
I just want to come visit everyone. Thank you.
Yeah,
all.
Vesper, I mean, speaking of people we were thankful for, it's been a really hard time over the last, 8 months or so. And not just for us, but for so much of what you've done with the Known World virtual practice. You are keeping us all connected at a time when we can't be together. And that's important. And so, I mean, we thank you every week for your production skills and making us all look good and letting us just kind of setting us up so we can just kind of get on and talk. And there's a lot of work behind.
Uh-oh.
We're eternally grateful for what you've done.
Thank you. Well, I'm grateful for you all because this is not possible without you all being willing to put yourself out there. And it was definitely a terrifying moment when I decided I wanted to kind of do this. But it was only made possible because you all were open to it. So thank you for doing that. Be nothing
Well, we'll let
without
you go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah. So next week, everybody, please tune in. Super excited for Friday's episode. And again, just the holiday season is tough and tricky for people. So really value the ones that are close to you, lift each other up, help people you haven't reached out to in a while. And we will see everybody here next Friday.
All right.
Sounds
Have a
good.
good night, everybody.
Well said.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
Vesper.
Bye, guys.